Welcome to the Legacy Building Leaders TV show, a show where we trace the footprints of game changers and solution providers from different sectors of our economy. In this episode, we are joined by Devsun Kanokanga, a lawyer, a pastor, a marriage coach, and an author.
I did my primary school at Katsande Primary School and Mutambwe Primary School. Both are in Mutoko. From there, I proceeded to Murewa Mission, where I completed my primary education and then proceeded to secondary school, still at Murewa Mission. From there, for my Form 5 and Form 6, I was at Prince Edward High School. From Prince Edward, I got a place at the University of Zimbabwe to study law. Not many people know how I became a lawyer, what motivated me to become a lawyer. Here is what happened. My parents used to have a maid who was working for them. It so happened that some money which was meant for our school fees went missing from the house. And the main suspect was this young domestic maid who was working for us. So what my late father did was to give this girl a hiding because he strongly suspected she had stolen the money. When that happened, she ran away and she disappeared for some days, and neighbors, for some strange reason, then alleged that my late father and I had murdered this girl. So they filed a police report and the police came for us. What I found strange was that I was told by the police to prove my innocence. So I was taken as guilty until I proved myself innocent. I knew nothing about law, but that to me just struck me as weird to say, how do I prove my innocence? I could not even kill a chicken, let alone commit murder. So that incident is what caused me to see that there was injustice in the world. So I became a lawyer, not so much to make money. I didn't know any lawyer, but I became a lawyer arising from that incident with a passion to fight for justice. 1989, I got married to my one and only wife. Practicing law, I practiced law as an assistant for 2 years before I set up my own law firm in 1991. It was very, very daring on my part because there were not many black law firms then. I had a pregnant wife, and there I was as a young man setting up a law firm on my own. So that was me in 1991. I was all by myself. Because when I set up my practice, I was not a partner in the firm where I was coming from, so I could not take any files with me. So I didn't have any clientele. I would sit in my office waiting for clients to come. I would see some people going up the staircase thinking that they are coming to see me as a lawyer. Hardly did I know that they were consulting bathrooms. So, you know, it was a frustrating experience. One of the things that happened to me as I was growing up as a young man is that my father gave me exposure to different kinds of life. And one exposure that I got was when I was dispatched to the then Harare International Airport, just to see planes taking off and landing. And when I returned home after that visit to the airport, I was asked a number of questions. Did you see the planes? Yes, of course I did. Did you see passengers disembarking from planes? Did you see them boarding planes? Yes, I did. How many legs did each one have? 2, of course. And how many heads did each one have? 1. I was asked, how many legs do you have? How many heads do you have? The message that my father was sending across was, you may be the son of a peasant, but you are no different from those persons that you saw disembarking from aircrafts and boarding aircrafts. You also can do that. That was challenging for me. In the entire Kanokanga plan, there was just one man who had gone as far as O level, and this man was my cousin brother. He was a teacher by profession. My father, appreciating the power of association, again gave me exposure to this man, which resulted in me one of the days wanting to become a teacher. The other thing that also is important for us to know is that I started my book writing in the year 2000. I just had this huge passion for me to put pen to paper and author a book. The first book that I wrote, Keeping Your Marriage Intact, took me 10 consecutive days to put together. And then from there, I wrote 8 or 9 other books on marriage. And the latest book that I authored is this book, Commercial Arbitration in Zimbabwe. This is for lawyers and arbitrators, judges, and law students. Then in the year 2010, we started ministry under the auspices of Impact Christian Center. We also have a marriage center, the Marriage Center, which is about building healthy marital relationships, as well as providing pre-marriage and marriage counseling services. 1991, I did say that's when I started my law firm. So this is me. This is what I have been able to do over the years with support from my wife.
We've listened to the leadership story of Devsun Kanokanga, a legacy building leader. Legacy building leaders are impactful. They influence the next generation of leaders. In the next segment, Devsun Kanokanga is going to be joined by 2 young leaders, Rudirashiya and Nyasha.
My name is Rudirashiya Manyangawana, and I am from Irene Christian College. Choosing a profession is not so easy today, in a world where entrepreneurship seems to be the way to go. So my first question for you is that, what could possibly inspire a young person like me to choose a career over hustling?
You know, Rudirashiya, choices are much more important than your environment. And life is a series of choices. The choice of a career is one of the most important choices one makes in life. Through your career, you can self-actualize. Through your career, you can develop your skills, your competencies, your abilities. Through your career, you can serve humanity. When people choose to just be entrepreneurs, many a time they are just looking at making money. They are not thinking in terms of serving humanity. They are not looking at self-actualization. Many people can easily become hustlers, but very few can become professionals. So I would strongly recommend that you choose a career over hustling.
Hi sir, my name is Nyasha and I'm from Lomakandi College. One of the things I admire about you is that you've not allowed yourself to be put in a box. You're a lawyer, a bishop, and most of all, a marriage specialist. So what can I do as a young person to prepare myself to be able to pursue more than one of my passions in the future, just like you did?
Good question. These things don't just happen. In order to achieve this, you need to be focused. You need to know what you want to achieve in life. You need to be disciplined. And you need to be particular about those you associate with, because there is power in association. If you walk with fools, you become a fool. If you walk with the wise, you become wise. So you need to be clear-minded as to what it is that you want to achieve. Know what you are passionate about, and remember that you are unique. You are different from your friends, your relatives, and your siblings.
You are a successful lawyer. What made you pick law as your career?
Interesting question. I didn't become a lawyer because I knew some lawyers. Neither did I become a lawyer for the sake of the money, because I didn't even know that lawyers make good money. So I didn't have a role model to look at in the legal field. I was motivated to become a lawyer by some circumstance in which I found myself, where the police came after me and my late father, accusing us of having committed murder, and they expected me and my late father to prove our innocence. That's when I started realizing that there is injustice out there, because the question I asked myself, how on earth do I prove my innocence? It was only later on that I realized that everybody is presumed innocent until proven guilty. So I became a lawyer, not to make money, but I became a lawyer in order to fight injustice. This is why I hate injustice with a passion.
My last but not least, what advice would you give to parents and educators to help youth to manage their personal relationships?
Well, I would say to parents, you have two basic types of critical relationships. The vertical relationship, which is one's relationship with their creator. So it's a relationship between the creator and his creation. Then you got the horizontal relationship. This is the relationship that man has with fellow man. When the vertical relationship is dysfunctional, it then affects the horizontal relationships. So my encouragement to parents would be to encourage their children to make sure that they have a vibrant, healthy relationship with their creator. Once that relationship is in place, it becomes easier to be able to manage the horizontal relationships. These are the relationships that we have with other human beings, relationships with our friends, relationships with our siblings.
In the last segment, we have seen Devsun Kanokanga influence and engage with two upcoming leaders, Rudirashiya and Nyasha. In the last segment, we are going to have Devsun Kanokanga hone on his legacy and zero in on the major issues that define his legacy. Bishop Kanokanga, when we look at your legacy, the architecture of your legacy, I see some key influences that shape that legacy. One of them is obviously your legal background, and then another is Christian ministry. Maybe you want to touch on that, so that as we will go to now look at your legacy as it relates to, marriage and your investment in marriage. How much has it been influenced by those two backgrounds?
Yes, indeed. When I studied law, one of the subjects that I studied was family law. But family law did not teach me how to be a good husband. It did not teach me how to have a successful and fulfilling marriage. It taught me how to help people who may want to divorce. It taught me how to handle custody, maintenance, and access issues. Now, in my practice of law, I have seen the pain of divorce. I can tell you that you will not come across people who divorce without experiencing emotional and mental pain. In church circles, I then saw how people invest more in weddings than they invest in the actual marriage. The funny thing being that a wedding is a day's event, whereas marriage is a lifetime commitment. Yet we have leaders who spend so many hours investing in weddings than they invest in marriages. I have seen people in churches, including big ministries, who got married without any structured and meaningful pre-marriage counseling. I've seen that in churches. So these are some of the things that have influenced me.
And what are some of the causes from what you are seeing? What are some of the major causes for marital breakdown, amongst our people, and especially, those in leadership?
One fundamental reason is a failure to acknowledge that marriage has an author. It is somebody's product. And that author of the institution of marriage, like any manufacturer of a thing, has a manual to govern the operations of their product. So the biggest mistake that a lot of people make is that we conduct marriages our own way, not in accordance with God's blueprint for marriage. Another mistake that I have seen is that many people put their marriages on autopilot. They think that marriage is a destination. So once we get married, we have arrived. Not many people realize that marriage, in fact, is a journey, and that you determine the kind of journey that you want to make, that you want to have. I've also seen that a lot of people, especially leaders, are very busy people, but never be too busy for your marriage. I have also seen that many leaders, because they are busy people, they are passionate about a lot of things, they tend to cleave to their passions instead of cleaving to their spouses. And that's a fundamental mistake. And when things start going wrong in our marital relationships, instead of us looking for counsel, we just sit back and think that things are going to fix themselves, that there's going to be self-correction. This is related also to pride. You may be a CEO whose marriage is falling apart. You think you are going to find another CEO to help you out of your marital problems, but it may not be a fellow CEO whom God has gifted in that area. It may just be an ordinary person like myself, whom you should look for. Humble yourself, swallow your pride, Make yourself vulnerable, because counseling calls for vulnerability. And say, look, this is what is going on in my marriage. I need help. My house is burning. When your house is burning, it doesn't matter where help comes from. What you want is the fire extinguished. And related to this point is a failure by many people to realize that there are in fact many marital fire extinguishers. So we extinguish our own marital fires, and the marital fire just dies down. At the end of the day, there is no marriage. There is no marriage that fails mysteriously. Every marital failure can be explained.
So as a marriage coach, talking of the marriage center, how do you help, couples that need to be assisted? You have published all those books. How do people, get helped from those resources that you have developed? And especially now when you look at this COVID-19 environment where physical contact now is limited, if you come up with ways, of people getting assisted virtually?
Oh yeah, sure. We don't just assist couples, we assist those who are intending to get married. These may be widows, widowers, bachelors, or spinsters, preparing them for marriage. They need to know what marriage is. They need to know the purpose of marriage. They need to know the threats to marriage. They need to know their respective roles. They need to know how to resolve conflicts. We also help couples. We provide our services virtually. I mean, we can provide counseling via WhatsApp, we can provide counseling via Zoom or through Google Meet. So we are moving with the times. You don't have to look for me and meet me in person unless you really have to. We can counsel you from whichever part of the world you may be in.
So when all is said and done, Bishop Kanokanga, what would you want to be remembered for? What do you want to be known for as part of your own leadership legacy?
I would want to be known as a God-fearing, scandal-free, impactful man of integrity.
We have listened to the inspiring legacy-building leadership story of Devsun Kanokanga, a game changer and solution provider in the area of marriage, building and development. Let's meet next time in another episode of Legacy Building Leaders TV show.